Thank you for having me here.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today of University Credit Union with offices in Kendall, South Miami, Coral Gables, and in the Civic Center, and plus online everywhere. So thank you very much, Michael Welch, University Credit Union, and team. So, Millie, we've known each other now for
oh my goodness,
15 years? Could
longer.
Be? All right.
Longer.
We were just kids.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about how you've been helping people through the Miami group.
Well, a lot of businesses are suffering, as we all know. I mean, we're all in pain, but specifically small businesses and medium-sized businesses, because their revenues have pretty much, stopped. Some of them have been lucky enough, the ones with the small manufacturing businesses, but the businesses that have to deal with the public, they're suffering a lot. So they have to pivot, they have to change. And one of the things that I always tell anybody that I speak with is, when you start a business, you do it because you know how to do something very well, but you may not have the skills or knowledge or the time to really plan and to really manage your company. You may not have the skills to do that. So you usually hire somebody who knows how to do it, or you just wing it. And there comes a point where you reach a plateau and you start hitting it. And when a pandemic comes around, or some kind of a crisis or economic crisis comes around, you start losing money because you didn't put in place the processes and the procedures and the planning in order to, be able to turn around and say, okay, now we're going to move this direction. That is happening on a regular basis. Companies, I always advise my clients and anybody who will listen, is you have to spend at least 2 hours a week working on your business, meaning planning. As a business owner and as a leader in a company, it's to your best interest to do so. It's not just, okay, let's bake as many cookies as we can and get them out there. Yes, there's marketing aspects involved. There's funding, capital, there's everything. But planning is important. And this is the time of year that if you have not done your strategic plan, and I'm not talking about those old, stale 200-page things that you pay somebody $50,000. No, I'm talking about an operational business plan, which you look at your business and you say, okay, this is what I did last year. This is my revenue. These were my expenses. How can I do better? How do I change the course of this ship so I can continue to make money in a pandemic?
So let's look at what the restaurants did. They said, all right, the government said you can only have 50% capacity, and then, of course, the health issues. So what they came up with is go outside, all right? And so I see plenty of places with these big tents, a little too hot over the summer, but now it's probably okay, all right? Right. And so whatever reduction they had on the inside, they can do more on the outside, and to be able to do more deliveries. My wife and I, we used to go out to dinner a lot. Now we just have it brought in. Right. So we're still buying the food. We're still buying it from someplace. We have some people come in, they say, well, Michael, I could go do, for instance, this video. I said, yes, you could. You surely could do that. Like you could paint your house. Yeah. But you don't. You hire a professional.
You hire a professional, and you hire a professional to do your marketing as community newspapers. We had this conversation many years ago when this wonderful set of publications decided to go to the digital world. You still need good content. You still need good advertisers. You still need, to have, outreach in the community. Now you're distributing, maybe you're not printing as much as before, but you're distributing it in another channel, which is a social media, which is digital. And, if you don't understand that, get an expert, get an expert that will help you do it and plan ahead. Take a look at find out what your mission really is. Who are you really selling to? That's the first thing. McDonald's does not sell hamburgers. McDonald's sells convenience. McDonald's sells marketing. They're always marketing with these little figures and with the movies and things for the kids. And then you're in a rush and you have 2 kids. And, it may not be the healthiest thing to do, but you go through a drive-through and you feed your kids, and then you get home and they're able to do the homework, et cetera.
So
it's convenience.
Burger King had some 65% of people went to their drive-ins. Now it's in the 80%. I'm thinking, if you were going to go, who would get out of their car, go inside, and stand in line where within 5 or 6 minutes from the time you pull in the line, you'll be done on the other side? The number one complaints that people had at McDonald's is the person in front of them didn't have the money ready to pay.
Right.
Like it was a surprise. So how's the Miami Group help people sort of focus in on things that are important?
It's almost like a counselor, an advisor position, that I go into a company and I say, okay, tell me what your pain is. What is your pain? You're not getting enough business in the door, or you're not getting enough product fast enough. You're late on your deliveries of whatever products you have or services. You don't have enough foot traffic coming in. So let's figure that out. Let's look at your revenue. Let's look at your costs. Let's look at what are your challenges, and we start looking. We do a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We do that, and it sounds kind of like, oh, okay, well, she's talking about whatever. It is important to understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and then those things become opportunities, and those things become your objectives. So if your weakness is you don't have enough foot traffic, how do we get the foot traffic in? Well, you're going to allocate a percentage of your revenue to advertising. And how are you going to advertise? You're not going to sit there and tell your little, nephew to go on Facebook and do. No, you're going to hire somebody who is professional so that you're doing it correctly.
So you bring up a really good point. People have to look a little bit more than to just do the little thing that they think might help.
Yes.
For instance, great example is we painted our building during lockdown. We said, okay, so it's time to put up a sign. So we got this vision, on the digital, we put a sign and said, no, we don't want a sign. We need to look at the whole thing. What do we need to do here? It's not just a sign. It's the front entrance. It's what's the colors? What's it going to look like? What impression do we want to make? Of course, how much money do you want to spend? But putting a sign on your building is not what you want to do. We need people to look at our business, whatever it is, in a certain way. And that's, of course, you help people with their newsletters and with their website and figure out that big picture. 25 years ago, my wife and I took a personal growth seminar. And it's this little exercise where you sit and eat a D, and then you start asking questions of each other. And this is how it goes. I heard you say such and such. Is that what you meant to say? No, that's not what I said, and that's not what I meant. The routine. So back and forth. At the end, it was, "Do you love me?" But it took 20 minutes to go through that whole process. So I think when we sit down with somebody, say, "I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to." No, we need the bigger picture.
We need the bigger picture, and we need it to be strategic. You need to look at, oh, my friend next door can build a website for me. Okay. All right, that's fine, because we have budgetary limitations when we are a small business. But what background does that person have, and who are you targeting with that website? And is it optimized for search engines? Do you have the right wording? Do you have the right information on there? Oh no, I sell everything to everybody. That's not true. You need to find out who are you selling to. And there are ways that you can do it. You can get very granular and very technical about it, or you can just say, I am selling T-shirts with logos for women, size S to XXL, period. If somebody with XXX comes along, I may not be able to sell it to them, or maybe I can expand my line and now I can have bigger sizes or smaller sizes,
So when you go to a lawyer, one of the things we like is when they have a specialty. If you go to somebody, well, I'm a general one. You know what? If I'm going to a doctor, I want to wind up at a cardiologist.
Right.
All right. And doctors are the best. They triage that out. But when we look for suppliers, sometimes we're not doing that. And we need to do that. And again, back to the lawyers, say, listen, if you need a business lawyer because it's a dispute, you don't want to go to a real estate lawyer, even though everybody's a lawyer. Or if somebody's a contractor, the roof guy is different than the kitchen guy and different than the bathroom guy. We make a mistake as business people. Well, anybody can make a website or anybody can make a newsletter. Well,
so the first thing that I tell my clients or anybody is that you need to know who your ideal client is. You need to really define who are you selling to specifically, because that's going to define what are your marketing strategies and how much money you're going to spend. Because if you're going to sell to the 20 to 45 age group, you need to have different marketing venues and different marketing channels. If you're a business to business, you may want to be in LinkedIn, like we discussed earlier. that maybe, Facebook business is a good opportunity, but you also want to look at doing articles and becoming a subject matter expert in LinkedIn. So those are the things that are important. Then once you have your strategies and you know who you're selling to or who you're servicing, at that point now you have to have objectives that are measurable. You have to say, I am going to increase my revenue. My goal for 2021 is I'm going to increase my revenue by my gross revenue by 1% by third quarter 2021. You have to be that specific. And then on a weekly basis, you have to look at your goals, and you need to meet with your staff, and you need to take time out to do it. It's not just being on that treadmill, producing. You also have to stop and say, okay, where am I? Am I doing it correctly? What am I doing to meet those goals? It takes a little bit of stepping back and being
in
more
the short-term goals. If somebody says, gee, Millie, I'd like to do some more business, and I'm trying to do some government stuff, but I haven't figured out how to do it. You can help them with that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of money in the federal government. The federal government does not produce anything. They farm everything out, from purchasing paper, masks. They purchase everything, services, products of any kind. So they have mechanisms and there are laws that have passed to help small business. They have the Small Business Administration, and they also have created certifications for small business owned companies, minority owned companies, Hispanic, Asian, Black, Pacific Islander, only because they're disadvantaged, because there's discrimination, and also women-owned businesses, disabled veterans. They have created set-asides for those companies to help them get a piece of the pie.
And you can help them fill out this form.
Yes. I mean, the certification process is very rigorous, by the way. You need to have, and throughout the certification process, what happens is a business realizes they may not have a local business tax for the city. They say, oh, no, I've got a local business tax for Miami-Dade County, but you also need one for the city of South Miami.
So all those things, as they start to do that, is going to help them in everything that they do, because they can, focusing on building the business. It's not just exclusive for doing business with that customer, but with a lot of customers. There are we do business with Frames USA on Bird Road. I go over there and I see Adams, and when you walk in there, you can see the type of work that they do, and you can get direction from them, all right, and get some advice and have a real conversation. Or you could go online and do it and take a chance at what you're doing is the right thing to do.
Right.
All right. We go to the professionals to get that done.
Perfect. So I have a lot of information, and I want to do it more often. And this past year has been challenging, but once a month, I put together an email blast, and then I put the information on my website, which is www.themiamigroup.com, just like that. There's a section called articles, and I have articles there on, how to prevent cyber attacks for small businesses. These are the things that you need to do. Very simple, step-by-step. PPP loans, economic injury, disaster loans. I mean, the new set of loans are coming up. The regulations are not in place yet, probably until after the 15th of the month. It's taking them a while to put it together, but there's an opportunity. If you have had losses of more than 20, like if your revenue was less than 25% of a comparable quarter last year, you can request a second PPP loan. Again, they're going to give you 2.5 months of your payroll. But the good thing is, if you are in the resort, restaurant industry, you get 3.5 months.
So people need to go to somebody that is competent and can have the conversation and going back and forth. So somebody
won't tell you lies.
What?
It won't tell you lies.
Right.
Because a lot of people will promise you, I am, hire me and I'm going to put you on page 1. You're going to be number 1 on the Google search. If you have $1 million a month, yes, you can do that. But it's going to take time.
And I'm glad you brought that. Lots of people don't realize that it's like the hamster. You have to keep feeding the hamster to go like this, because you could be first on the page, and you know what? 3 days later, you're number 5, and 3 weeks later, it's constantly going and improving, like going to the dentist or the gym. All right, you got to keep that up.
It's like advertising.
Yep.
You don't just buy one ad and then just forget about it. You have to continuously be in front of your potential clients, because that's going to give you the, first of all, name recognition, and they're going to start trusting you. And it's not just come buy my stuff. No, there's a point where you have to also educate small business, which I do. I give seminars. I do this, and I give seminars at chambers of commerce. The Doral Chamber of Commerce, the Women's Chamber of Commerce, South Miami. The Miami Bayside
I'm
Foundation.
glad you brought that up, because a couple of years ago we were considering getting on QuickBooks. So the Doral Chamber of Commerce, Manny Sarmiento, thank you, Manny. All right, he was having one of the seminars you taught there, and so it happened to be somebody who was in Spanish, so the language was fine. So we had one of our guys who heads up our accounting department go to the class. He says, we should do this, all right? And I said, great, you got it? He said, yes. And who did we hire to help us? The speaker. So when you go to these things, you're going to learn how to do it and say, if I'm going to trust somebody, all right, there's a speaker that was brought in by the other people. Maybe they can help. All right, so people can contact you through the website and be able to have that conversation. Here I am in first quarter of 2020, feeling lousy but looking good.
21.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It takes a while.
Looking forward, because in a couple 6 months, something like that, I'm sure that most people will have had access to the vaccine. I had my injection yesterday.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
And you're not growing horns yet.
Yeah. So, and so within a couple months, the county just announced, they said by mid-February, they think most seniors in Dade County, there's 477,000 people over that. I'm sure some of the local hospitals are going to start the announcement soon. And, if you feel like getting it, you should get it. If you don't, you want to wait. I don't know how many millions of people you want to wait to see the reactions to it, but millions, all right, that'll be there. And so we know that at some point, May, June, July, there are going to be a lot of happy people, all right, that it's not quite post-COVID, but it'll be there, and people will feel really good about themselves. But this is the time to do this, right?
Right. This is the time to plan. This is the time to take a look at, what am I missing? What am I missing? Okay, I'm a restaurant. It costs me money for the lease. It costs me money to keep the business going, and I'm not having enough business. This is the moment to look at, how can I become better? How can I reach my ideal client? Who is my ideal client? And ask those questions. I also provide free advice, in the sense, I'll give you a complimentary 30-minute meeting that we can talk about your business and see how I can help you. And if you want to hire me, that's great. If not, that's part of life. You just give back.
The home improvement sector has been booming. All right, Home Depot, Lowe's, their sales are up, whatever quarter was, 24%. Home sales are skyrocketing. And whenever there's these kind of sales, all right, you have the real estate broker, the mortgage broker, the landscaper, the furniture people, the paint people, everybody is moving in. So there's this boom that's cooking right now, all right, as all these people are selling very valuable property that it's going to work its way through. Car sales are skyrocketing. People are just done, all right, they don't want to hibernate anymore, all right? And they're going to be out and working really hard to make this part of the year really work. And my suggestion is, this is January. We know that kids are going to be in school or not in school, right, but whatever that's going to be. But you have 5 or 6 months to put this in place and be ready for next year. I look at the local restaurants. Pizza places have been doing great. Home delivery for that stuff is great.
One idea that I have a good friend of mine who is very conscious about natural foods, and I always told him, I said, get an SBA loan, get a loan and set up a fast healthy food drive-through restaurant in Kendall, so that people who are concerned about artificial and additives and highly processed foods, they can just drive through. And this is the time to innovate. This is the time to say, okay, this is what I've been doing up to now, and I may return to doing what I did before, but for now, I'm going to use the resources that I have. I'm going to reinvent, create new product lines, create new services, and find a way to do it, so I don't have to close my business.
Yes, and I see a lot of my behaviors change. For instance, every Sunday morning, Susan and I have a ritual. We go to Lots of Locks on 144th Street. We get the food to go. We bring it home. All right, so we get to spend the time in the car. All right, it's like a date.
Right.
And then on the weekend, we order food from Panera Bread on 137th and Kendall. We order the food. We sit in the car. They bring it out to us. How wonderful that is!
A drive-through.
Right? Yes. So there are going to be things that we're going to leave the same, and some are going to change. Excuse me. So, and I think of what prior to COVID, last February, March, we would do a lot of luncheons, breakfasts. Our connection was one-on-one in different chambers of commerce. By the way, when people come in the building, we take their temperature, wash their hands, and there's a glass in between us here. And we have a tag like this. So if we see somebody without a tag, we go get them.
Yeah.
So when we realized that connection was going to be gone, we amped this up.
And
right?
and this is very useful, because I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are watching who may not have had the time to go to one of those luncheons and go to one of those breakfasts, and now they're getting a lot of information, that you're bringing to this venue here, and it's really important, because we need to feel connected, and we need to learn about how do we do things better.
Yes, and by the way, the animal business is huge right now. The dog pound up there, they barely have any pets. We have Tommy. Did they say they had any dogs? The animal control?
Maybe a few. Yeah.
All right.
I like pits and stuff like
All right. So people want to be connected, and the self-isolation and the isolation, the social isolation that people are feeling, soon there'll be a disconnection again, where you won't be afraid. All right. And so, but during this time, people are going to be creating habits. Right. And this is a really good time to sit down with somebody, whether it's Millie or your partner, have a real open conversation without judgment. Say, this is where we are, and this is where we want to get. What do we have to do to get there? And I live in horse country, and years ago, we asked somebody from the county to come out and help us with the traffic. So there we were, all pounding chest. We said, we want a stop sign, we want a yield sign, we want this. And he says, hold on there. What would you like to accomplish? We would like less traffic and slower or slower traffic. He says, I have a box of toolbox here. You tell me what you want. I will look in and to see what would work. I said, well, what do you mean? Well, traffic circles, thinner roads, trees, all right, bumps, humps, all sorts of things that can control the way traffic is. So I learned a lot from that, which was, don't figure out you just need to do this. Look at the bigger picture, and then figure out the things you need to do to try to accomplish that.
And that's why it's important for companies to first start with your values. What are your values? And it may sound corny, but it's true. You start your own company, and you want to help. You don't want to just make money, which is great. Making money is fantastic. But what else do you want to do? What are the values that you want to convey to your customers and to your employees?
Right.
And then from there, defining how are you going to deliver those values? How are you going to deliver those products and those services?
And that is so important, because you live that. I'm thinking about a frame guy. They want the most beautiful thing that you love, that they know is going to work for you. They just don't want to sell frames. No, these are people's stuff. Some of the very momentous occasions for them, right? They want to be able, and they say, where are you going to display this?
And they're not selling frames.
Right.
There we go. They're not selling frames. They are selling memories.
Yes.
They're selling, a connection with your family, with your ancestors. And that's exactly what we need to do. What I do with my clients. It's not just, I want to sell frames. I want to sell as many frames as I can to everybody that walks in the door. That's not what you're selling. What you're selling is memories. What you're selling is, a feeling of belonging. And that's the process that I take them through. You define your values. You know what your values are. You define your values. You don't have to go crazy with 50 million values, 4 or 5. You define your ideal client. Then you define your mission and your vision if you don't have it. And missions and visions are not these long paragraphs. I'm going to be doing this. No, it's, for example, with me, my mission is, I help businesses reach their next level of excellence. That's my mission. That is my mission. Simple. I mean, how do I do it? Well, how do I do it is my strategies, my objectives, and my action items. and they have times, time limits. By first quarter of 2021, I have a goal of creating this webinar that I'm going to have about strategic planning, and another one about business certifications. That's my goal. Those are my two main goals for the first quarter. I know what they are, and then I have to write down the steps to take me there. And every week I sit down, okay, did I do this? If I didn't, it's going to be delayed.
So, Millie Herrera, so you can take people slowly through this process, right? Because you've been doing it for many years, very experienced. So somebody can call you and you take from here to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. I used to run a long time ago, and it was a tropical park, and I started doing 5Ks, 3 miles. And then, okay, we have a new running class. How many of you want to do a half marathon, and how many of you want to do a marathon? The class got split. If you want to do this, this is what you do. It was all printed out.
Mm-hmm.
On this day you do this, on this day you do this, on this day you do this, and this is how you're going to do it. And if you do this, all right, without regard to the speed, you will accomplish what you want. And sometimes it's all those little tiny steps. So the first step somebody can do is find an expert, somebody that can help you. They can reach you, or whoever to say, I'm lost, I need some help. What do I need to do to get over here? And so maybe it is like, clean out your closet. What a great time. All right. I can tell you that we went and we cleaned out our closets. And I'm going to tell you, 3 months later, all new stuff. That's what happens.
I have
you
a
take
rule.
the old stuff.
In order for me to buy a new pair of shoes, I have to get rid of 2 old shoes.
You must have a very big closet. So
No. So I know I get rid of 2 pairs of
Yep.
shoes. I either throw them away or I give them away if they're, kindly used. And then I get 1 pair of shoes. But if I want to buy a shirt, I got to get rid of 2, because I have to look at, if I haven't worn something in the past 6 months, I'm never going to wear it unless it's winter clothes. Winter clothes, how many times do we wear galoshes and things
Yes.
like that?
And I think that stuff is very important, that we take stuff that's filling our heads or in our closets or wherever it is. And when you start doing some physical stuff, you'll realize that the bandwidth it took to do that. If it's clothes, you're going through all your stuff and you realize, okay, today's clothes, yesterday's, last month's, skinny, pre-COVID, post-COVID. The reality is, after a while, you never get to it, right? So my suggestion is that people figure out what they want by also taking out what they don't want, all right? And to make a plan and to make this work. This is going to be got to help the people and the families that are suffering, right? But 2021 is going to be so much better. Right? People are hopeful. They know that the social and emotional issues even though they're going to be plenty, that there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel. And as people feel better about themselves, they're going to be able to communicate. They're going to be able to hug. They're going to be able to see their grandchildren. We do all our stuff by FaceTime, and the kids. One of our grandkids had his tooth pulled out the other day, and we videotaped the whole thing through
Right.
FaceTime. All right. And so I now look at his picture of him holding up his tooth with the big hole in there.
So what we do with our physical clutter, we also need to do it with our business clutter
Yes.
and our personal, what's up here. We need to look at, and I do this, it's almost like a project plan. My first career was IT. I am a geek. I am a nerd.
We have 5 minutes left. Right?
Yeah. So I was a computer programmer for the longest time, and the banks and insurance companies, et cetera. And I did a lot of project management. So that's where this list, I do checklists for everything.
Yep.
And how to get from here to here is you have a plan.
Yes.
You have action items and you got to get them done. And one of the first things to do is you need to say what you need and what you don't need.
So Tommy knows this well. He was producing our show. We called the Junk Man, which is a guy, that's the name of the company, the local one. We call them over. They have this big truck, 2 guys. Throw that out. Three trucks. And guess what? It's like, it's amazing. I do want to say hi to a couple of people that have checked in. Ignacio Bolivar, Marcos Garcia, Justin, Arthur Costa, Debbie Larkin Riston, Robert Husted, Claude Wilson, Juan Leonardo, George Gonzalez. Thank you very much for checking in, guys. We got one of the things, just a couple minutes left. You've been successful in your life. You're active, in business. There's some young lady or some young man that's watching this, and he's looking for something that somebody he can look at, and somebody to offer him some guidance and some positive things. So why don't you talk to him right over there? Got 2 minutes.
Follow your dreams. Do what you like. Um, get some education under your belt, go to school, whatever, go to trainings and carve out for yourself what you love. Because when you love something, you're going to be successful at it. It's not always going to be, okay, I'm going to get out there and in a year I'm going to be a multimillionaire, which is a great thing. And some people have done it. But the most important part is you're satisfied with yourself, that you are doing something that you like, because life is short. And if you don't enjoy what you do, I know that we have to pay bills, but if you can also pay bills and still do something that you like I said.
Terrific. And lots of good health and happiness to you this
Thank you.
coming up year and many years after. Again, our guest
do your
today
plans, do your
right.
plans, do your
Right.
business plans.
is Millie Herrera from the Miami Group and Associates. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you around campus. Tommy, thank you very much for your expertise. Folks, again, thank you very much for University Credit Union for sponsoring the show. And folks, have a great day. Again, this is Live with Miami's Community News.